All right, welcome back to your community briefing, brought to you by the Hills Observer. We've sorted through the January 13th City Council meeting to pull out everything you, as a resident of the Hills, really need to know.
Okay, let's dive right in. First up is a topic that's, always top of mind for everyone. Safety and security right here in our community.
So let's take a look at the numbers from the December law enforcement report. All in all, there were 131 incidents. A huge chunk of that, about 50, were traffic stops. And you guessed it, the main culprits were speeding and people not stopping at that three-way stop. So, a good reminder to be careful there. Another thing that keeps popping up is trespassing. Mostly non-resident kids fishing where they shouldn't be and unfortunately leaving a mess behind.
Okay, this next one is super important for all of us. There was a big clarification at the meeting about what to do for non-emergencies to get the quickest help. So, who are you actually supposed to call?
And the answer is, call the Guard Shack. Seriously, call them directly. Here's why. Calling 911 for something that isn't a true emergency can actually slow things down. But when you call the Guard Shack, they radio the on-duty deputy who's already patrolling inside the hills. It's hands down the fastest way to get their attention.
All right, let's switch gears and talk money, specifically the cost of policing our community. The council's kind of weighing two different paths for getting extra coverage. Right now, paying for overtime runs us about $77 an hour. The other option, hiring a brand new full-time officer, which would be at the market rate of about $113 an hour. That's a pretty big difference, so it's a major financial decision for the whole community.
So where did they land on this? Well, for now, they're hitting pause. The council wants to be smart about this, so they're going to gather more data. They really want to understand our current service hours, where the gaps might be, and what the total cost would look like before they make any final calls on adding a second constable.
Okay, let's pivot from day-to-day safety to the bigger picture. We're talking about future projects and utilities, the stuff that's really going to shape the village for years to come.
And speaking of big picture, this next one is huge. The Municipal Utility District, the MUD, has given their initial thoughts on a potential consolidation with the village. And their preliminary take is, well, pretty clear. They've concluded that, quote, the consolidation is not in the residents' best interest.
And they're not just leaving it at that. To show their work, so to speak, the MUD is actually going to publish a full FAQ on its website. This is awesome because it means all the data, all the analysis they used to reach that conclusion will be right there for every single resident to look at. It's a really big step for transparency on this whole issue.
All right, let's do a quick-fire round of other big infrastructure updates. First, Google Fiber. The wait continues for the Hills, no start date just yet, but seeing construction move forward in Lakeway is definitely a good sign. Next up, traffic. The POA, that's our Property Owners Association, has hired an engineering firm to start a traffic study on that main intersection. And finally, some really smart forward-thinking planning from the council. They're going to ask Lakeway while they're doing road work to lay down some empty conduit under the road. Why? So we're ready for future fiber optic cables without having to dig everything up again. Super smart.
Okay, moving on from the big infrastructure stuff to what's happening right here in our day-to-day lives. Let's talk about some new initiatives and opportunities that are popping up to improve community life.
Looks like our Parks and Rec Committee has been busy. Some really fun news here. Yappy Hour is coming back on Thursday nights at the dog park. Get ready for that. Over at the playground, they're adding a take a ball, leave a ball container, which is a great idea. They're also getting requests ready for some much-needed capital improvements, like shades and fans for the pavilion. Oh, and that loose brick on the walking trail? They're on it. Just a lot of nice little upgrades that make a big difference.
I love this next one. Check out this quote. A brand new family in the neighborhood called their welcome from the Welcome Commission the best move-in experience they've ever had. That's just fantastic to hear. And it's not a one-off thing either. Since May, the Commission has already reached out to 53 of the 64 new families that have moved into the Hills. What a great job they're doing.
Okay, now for some really great news, especially for the students in our community. The council just approved a $1,000 scholarship opportunity for our graduating high school seniors. So this is the Waste Connections Scholarship. Let's break down how it works. First, who's eligible? Any graduating senior, that's 12th graders, who lives right here in the Hills. What is it? It's a $1,000 scholarship for either college or trade school. How do you apply? You just need to submit an application and a short essay. And most important, when's the deadline? You've got until April 1st, 2026 to get your application in.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. So to wrap things up, let's do a quick recap of the key decisions that were actually made at the meeting and what we should all be keeping an eye on next.
Okay, here's the final scorecard of what was decided. First, the council meetings are staying put, second Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. Second, that issue with the pedestrian gates, a new committee's been formed to work with the POA on the idea of locking them from dusk to dawn. Third, that student scholarship we just talked about, it's officially a go, with that April 1st deadline locked in. And finally, the council is taking a closer look at how the city's logo is used for things like sponsorships, just to make sure there are no conflicts of interest down the line.
So when you step back and look at it, this meeting really set the stage for a lot of big conversations in 2026. We're talking new studies, long-term decisions on the horizon, which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. As the Hills plans for its future, what's the one issue you'll be watching most closely this year? What matters most to you?